Hey, welcome back to the channel. So as you saw, I was just putting some dirt in pots, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant up some allium seeds. I'm going to put a few seeds in every pot. I don't have room in the garage, so these seeds will sit outside, which is fine. My goal is not to grow the big beautiful flower this year, but to build the bulbs up for next year. So I'll put them in these pots. If they grow, awesome. If they don't, oh well. But if they do grow, hopefully that the bulbs will get large enough this year, sizable enough that then I can plant them out in the fall, and the next spring have beautiful allium flowers in the front yard. So I'm going to do that now. As always, don't forget to label your pots. Also going to test for these wood tags. I don't think they'll last very long outside, but we'll see. And there you go. I got my allium seeds planted up. They're, in case you didn't know, they're part of like the onion family, or onions are part of the allium family, something along those lines. But they're all planted up. I'll let them do their thing. I'm going to leave them out on the deck, not on the railing. I'll put them down on the deck. They'll get plenty of sunlight here. If they grow, they grow. If they don't, it's not the end of the world. It's just an experiment to see what will happen. We are expected to get some colder temperatures over the next few nights, and possibly, who knows, we're still in February. Even though I'm in North Carolina, you know, we could still be getting freezing temperatures up until April. So we'll put these on the deck. We'll see what happens. I know we're going to be getting rain in the next few days, and yeah. Let's move on to the next task. Okay, so if you didn't figure it out by now, just went on a little shopping trip to Lowe's, and I got some stuff. So I'm going to unpack this now, and then tell you what we're going to do. Or maybe I'll tell you what we do while I unpack. More seed starting mix, because you can never have enough. Oh, sweet Jesus. Oh, I haven't had my Wheaties. More tree and shrub soil. I've used this before on the pear trees up front in a different video. If you haven't watched that one, I'll try to remember to link it above or below. someplace. And no, I haven't purchased more pear trees, but I did get my wife for Valentine's Day 2 pawpaw trees from fastgrowingtrees.com. Not sponsoring this channel, I'm just letting you know where I got them from. So I have purchased from them before. Pretty cool. Unfortunately one of them came broken, but not a big deal. I'll contact support and I'm sure they'll take care of it. So 8 bags of compost. And I'll show you what we're going to do with that tomorrow. You know, they often tell you how much product is in the bag, but they never tell you really how much it weighs. And despite everything that I'm pulling out of this truck today and the quantities that I'm pulling it out at, it's still not enough. 4 bags concrete paver base. They still don't tell you how much it weighs. 10 11 by 11 pavers. 6 15 by 15 pavers. 10 of these edging bricks. Okay, so that's it. I've got a bunch of pavers, dirt, paver base, bricks. Now, I'll give you a little rundown as to what we're going to be doing with all this. So, 2 of these bricks are going to go up front, and they're going to line that gutter thing I did, that drain, downspout drain thing I did last week. I'll again link that video above if I remember, if I don't screw that up. These 6 or 10 small pavers I will use to construct a new drain spout, downspout thing on the other side of the house, similar but different to what I've already done, the one you've seen me do. The large 15 by 15 pavers, they're going to go back here to back towards the compost pile, because the ground is absolute mush as you walk past it. With all the rain we've had, you just start sinking into the mud. Not a good thing. So we're going to try to alleviate that. And yeah, I'll get to the dirt and stuff. I've already mentioned some of that, but I'll get to that in more detail hopefully tomorrow. So in the meantime, I'm going to move this cart away, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Oh, Jesus Christmas, that's heavy. Good morning. So here we are again. It's a lot different day, or a little different day than yesterday. It's windier, I think, and it's also a little chillier, so hence the reason for the jacket. Yesterday, I believe the high temperature was like 68. Today, it's like, I think it's going to be, well, it's currently, I think, about 45, and it's going to get up to like 50. So, but we shouldn't let that stop us, because there are more days of rain ahead. So we should get some projects done, and let's get on with it. So the first thing I'm going to address is this side of the house, which is quite shady, and when it rains, it turns into a large puddle, as it were. So I'd like to get the water away from the house, but also I would like to build up the ground a little bit against the house, because this is where I'd like to have a little shade garden filled with hostas and heuchera and whatever else grows in the shade. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to accomplish that, and perhaps even make the ground drain a little bit better over here. Now, there's actually not much that can be done short of trying to raise up the ground to the height of the vents level with the driveway, but really don't want to do that either. So we're just going to raise up the ground a little bit over here, and this area right in here will still wind up flooding a little bit, but if I try to make the ground drain a little better, it should drain faster and thus be less of a problem. So the first thing we're going to do is try to work up some of this, or aerate some of this ground with this new indestructible, ridiculous metal pitchfork here. And then one of the reasons I'm doing this is I've read that if you do this and then you brush in some or rake in some compost, you basically add organic matter to the ground. And as I've stated before in all my other videos, this ground is pretty clay. I mean, it retains water like nobody's business. So I'm just really wiggling the fork back and forth, trying to get the tines as deep as I can, loosen up the soil. If you think I'm doing something wrong, or you have a better suggestion, please feel free to leave a comment below, down below. And yeah, you too can help make this a better garden. Oh. And grass is nice to look at, but it's just grass. Whereas if I cover this area with plants, now we're talking. Now you've got some sort of character. So I just dumped some compost on the ground, sort of raking it out here. It's filled with all sorts of bits of bark and mulch and other good and stuff. And I'm gonna work it into the holes a little bit, as much as I can. And then eventually what'll happen is the earthworms, looking for yummy nutrient stuff, will draw the compost into the ground. And thus, between the earthworms and the rain, and that'll again add organic matter to the ground, and thus hopefully, theoretically, allow for better drainage of this area. So when it does rain, this area does not become a swamp, or becomes less of a swamp. Now by doing this, covering this whole area, well, the area I intend to use as the shade garden, with cardboard, again, it'll act as a weed suppressant, and it's a good way to dispose of cardboard's blowing away on me. Again, it's a windy day. It'll help dispose of the cardboard because it will break down, rot down. So hopefully help to add organic matter to the soil, which again, hopefully will allow it to drain better. Yeah, just raise this area up just a little bit more so that whatever I plant here won't drown in the water that generally pools here. Let me finish this up and then we'll get back to the next thing. Okay, so as you can see, I don't have enough compost to finish covering this area, but I do have the cardboard down, and I threw some rocks down to help hold the cardboard in place. Again, we're supposed to get a few more days of rain, so that will actually soften the compost and allow soften the cardboard and allow it to start settling into the ground. I will probably need another 8 to 12 bags. I'm not going to put a very thick layer on top of this. Again, this is not meant to raise this up 8 to 12 inches or even 3 to 4 inches really. But I will need more compost to finish covering this up. So then theoretically in a few weeks when I start getting my shade-loving plants, I will start planting them into this. The cardboard will be mostly rotten or at least super soft so I can cut right through it. And yeah, I will have a shade garden. But in the meantime, I've finally gotten this project started and I've gotten rid of a lot of cardboard here. So let's move on to the next task. Remember how I said I was going to put a couple of pavers, or bricks I should say, right here to finish off this little area? So I think that looks better. There. Oh, there we go. There. Looks a little more complete, looks good. On to the next task. Okay, so yesterday you saw me buy all those pavers and paver sand and yada 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 yada. One of the things I'm going to do today, or one of the things I'm going to do with that, is make a path out to my compost pile, because this ground is so soft and muddy, and again it's the high clay content so it retains water. But as I go back and forth, I'm starting to create a path, as it were, in the grass, which is only going to get muddier and it's only going to get slipperier. It's going to get slippery. So, and there's no reason that anybody should be taking a header while going out to the compost pile. Now I know I don't have enough pavers to go all the way out, but I'm going to take a start and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do next. Essentially starting about there. So I'm going to put my first paver. Yeah. See, now this is where I need to wiggle it back and forth and figure out exactly where, because now I'm looking going, man, maybe that's not the path. Maybe this is the path. Yeah, I think that'll be good. One, two, three, four, five, six. Okay, so I just threw down some pavers. These are not exactly where I'm going to put them, but it gives me an idea of spacing, and I can start formulating in my head exactly how I want this laid out. Now, a professional would come in here and they would use sticks and strings and levels, and they would get super professional about it and figure out who, what, when, where, why, and how, and everything would be perfectly level. It's not my goal here. My goal here is just to create a simple path that I can walk out on without slipping in the mud. So it doesn't have to be perfectly level. It doesn't have to be perfectly, again, these pavers over time are going to sink in this ground. I can almost guarantee that, because this ground is so soft as it gets water saturated. That being said, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do next. Now what I'm going to do is put down some Paver Base, which is essentially just crushed concrete. And yes, I'm not digging it out. And there's reasons why I'm not digging this hole out. A, I said stuff was going to sink into the ground a second ago. And B, there's already a lot of rock in this ground. I just tested that off camera. But this Paver Base will hopefully just allow the paver not to sink further or too far into the ground. So it's a base. There you go. Very scientific method. of knocking this down. Nice. Okay, so there you have it. I'm just gonna rest over here for a second. The path is taking shape. I probably figure I need at least 6, maybe 8 more stones. Maybe when I come down here, I'll do a couple in front of each bin, as it were, because the ground over here also tends to get quite saturated, and if I'm going to be working down here for prolonged periods of time, perhaps having more stones down here, maybe even butted up against one another, wouldn't be such a bad idea. But I definitely need at least 6 more stones to come down this way. Again, the path isn't perfectly straight, nor is it perfectly level, but it keeps my feet out of the wet, soggy ground, and it keeps me from creating a mud slick. I may go back in time and readjust some of the stones, add a little more paver base to each one. I'll see as that time goes on, because again, the stones will settle. The only way to prevent that is to dig a 8-inch deep trench, fill with paver base 4 inches thick, and then put sand on top of that, leveling it all perfectly, and then putting the stones. No, it's a lot of work for something that doesn't get used quite often. And as the stones settle, and as the mud there settles, and as the grass grows back over, it'll add a bit of character. Again, it's not meant to be super pretty. It's just meant to keep me from slipping in the mud as I walk out to dump the kitchen scraps and whatnot into the compost bin. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I will leave an icon someplace on the screen. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you're notified of when I do post up new videos. If you don't follow me on Instagram, please give a follow on Instagram. Again, I'll post that little thing someplace, and there'll be links below. And yeah, I think that's it for today. I'll catch you on the next one.